name is Colin Schwarz. I'm a product manager at ChainSafe Systems, and I lead our game asset stream. So we're looking at new and innovative ways to incorporate blockchain technology into the realm of in-game assets. So today I'm here to talk to you about invisible consensus. Now, consensus is a mechanism by which nodes in a blockchain agree to validate and a transaction and mark it as authentic. But don't worry, I'm not going to go a deep dive on blockchain tech today. The consensus I'm referring to relates to community building. I'm here to talk about how blockchain technology can be used in gaming to build and strengthen communities and create new avenues for fundraising, player acquisition, and retention. Now, in order to do this successfully, the tech needs to be integrated correctly. In the past, many web3 games have placed the blockchain elements front and center. However, in order to successfully build communities and increase acquisition and retention, the blockchain elements in your game need to be invisible. Before I go any further, I'll do a quick introduction on ChainSafe. ChainSafe is a cryptographic research and development firm, and since 2017, we've been creating cutting-edge blockchain software. There's a lot of companies building Web3 tooling for gaming at this point, so what sets us apart? First of all of our tech is decentralized and open source. We have deep experience across all major Web3 networks. We actually build and maintain full node implementations on Ethereum, Polkadot, and Filecoin, just to name a few. We're the maintainers of Web3.js, one of the biggest Ethereum libraries, if you're familiar with that. We have 6 years of smart contract experience, and in addition to all of our full node experience, we also have a lot of experience building middleware and decentralized applications. And so we bring all of this to gaming at the infrastructure level. Why blockchain? This is a primarily Web2 conference, so I think it's worth mentioning some reasons why we might actually want to integrate these technologies into games. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but one that most people are probably familiar with is ownership. Being able to actually have true ownership over your assets, owning them even if the game no longer exists, even having assets that can be transferable between games through a single wallet, and also ownership of digital identity is a big one. So I'm not going to spend too much time here, but security is another. Security over the user's identity, player identity, security, obviously, of the value within the game economy, both the assets and the tokens, if you've tokenized your economy. And then something that doesn't get talked about as much, there are actually a lot of really cool anti-cheat applications that you can use blockchain technology for, and we have an SDK that includes some examples of that. But what I really want to speak about today is community. There are really interesting ways that we can make community development and game development in general more inclusive through the use of this tech. It opens up new tools for user acquisition, community building, and even revenue generation before your game is even launched. So a lot of this comes from the fact that there's no need for a trusted intermediary when you're building connections within your ecosystem. And this is something I'm going to get into a bit later and use some examples from some of the things that we're building. So at ChainSafe, we're trying to empower communities to build fun games. What makes a fun game? A lot of you folks probably know better than I do, but obviously things like challenge to reward ratio, game loops, having clear goals, and above all, clean UX. Now, what's going to take fun away from those games, away from the player experience, is a lack of those things. And usually, when the first blockchain games were being created, they sort of were forcing the Web3 elements down people's throats. And it led to a bunch of really suboptimal user experiences and a lack of adoption. So first of all, you have to connect to a wallet. You had to have funds. You had to pay for gas. You had to buy NFTs. Play to earn, and just a general focus on the Web3 elements over the actual elements that made the gameplay fun led to low adoption, and in many cases is still leading to low adoption today. Wallet pop-up's another really annoying one. So as you can see, there was a lot of things here that we kind of had to grind through and get rid of in order to make the player experience a positive one. And then everything is even harder on mobile, and there are regulatory issues as well there that we're still just trying to get through now. The good news is that at ChainSafe and a lot of other companies in the industry, we've now created a lot of really cool infrastructure and tools that obfuscates away a lot of these problems. For example, we can now offer social login, so you one-click login with a social of your choice, and no need to set up a wallet right away. You can give that option to the player later, once they're already sold on your game, or you can keep it obfuscated from them entirely. Things like gasless transactions are now offered through our SDK as well. The developer or even the creator of the SDK pays for all of the gas up front, or you use a really low-cost blockchain to minimize the need for gas in the first place, and the user can just focus on the gameplay. They don't have to worry about the transactions. You seem to be paused here. Yeah, and then as well, things like account abstraction are just taking those blockchain elements, hiding them under the UI, and allowing players to play the game without distraction. So that brings us to ChainSafe Gaming. We are building solutions that are forward-looking and future-proof, and we're trying to build communities around our games. So the first product that we came out with about 2 years ago was called our web3.unity SDK. This is similar to other SDKs that we've built for the Ethereum network, except that it's built for Unity developers wanting to integrate elements of blockchain into their games. And this basically includes all of the functionality I just mentioned, as well as a bunch of other interesting tools. This won't be the subject of the talk, though. I really am excited to share with you what we're doing with our marketplace as it relates to the obfuscation of blockchain in gaming, and what we're doing with our loot drops, which is our newest product that came out. And we'll use those as case studies to examine how if we can obfuscate the blockchain in a game, then we can actually open up some really unique avenues for community building and revenue generation. So ChainSafe Gaming is used by over 150 gaming teams. This is some examples of just a few of the largest ones. Parallel Trading Cards and Arsenal are good examples. And so for the rest of the talk, I'd like to focus on two of our products and how they can lead to this vision that I'm describing of hiding the blockchain, making everything really simple for the user, offering essentially a Web2 experience, but with some benefits, some unique benefits of Web3 technology, such as new avenues for community growth, player acquisition, and revenue generation. So our marketplace can be inserted directly inside of a game. Now this comes with a bunch of really interesting benefits. First of all, it allows you to maintain 100% of the attention of your players. They don't have to go to a third-party website to access the assets that they need to play the game. It makes onboarding a lot faster and a lot easier. It reduces the time to first purchase. It makes the entire gameplay experience stay immersive. They don't have to think about being on the internet within the browser. They are in the game 100% of the time. Then this helps obviously with Web2 conversion. It presents a gameplay experience that the players are familiar with. And in general, it just makes the whole gameplay more fun, more seamless, and quicker. So this functionality is currently available through our dashboard. We'll be releasing it in beta at the end of this month. So if you'd like to test it, come talk to me after. Basically, the developer can spin up the assets that they want through our NFT Launchpad. They can order them into collections, and then they can index them. This just makes them easily readable by the marketplace and makes everything more performant. And then they can list them. So something that is really cool to point out here is that we also support custom game-specific properties in the metadata. So things like, for example, this Casper orb has a speed, a level, a type, a damage score, and all of that is available natively. You can add as many of these as you want. You can customize them to be bespoke to your game design and your game logic. This is something that most marketplaces do not support. So we allow this at the level of minting, and then once these items are actually listed in the game, you can search and filter by these attributes as well. And then finally, you just have to use the same UI methods that you would for a Web2 marketplace to insert these elements into your game. We have some tutorials and videos that help with that. And you get a marketplace that looks and feels like your game, that is only serving assets that are specific to your game, and that keeps the player immersed in the game world. So this is an example of a demo that some of our team built called Germ Blaster. As you can see, all the assets are specific to the game. It looks like the game, it feels like the game. I had a video, but it's not working. All right, so that I hope illustrates just one way that the technology has now advanced to a point that we can really offer a seamless experience to users while still incorporating these Web3 elements into our games. So for the rest of the time I have, I'd like to talk about the community building, the revenue generation aspect that I touched on earlier. And you can use this new tool that we've built as an example of that. And that tool is called Loot Drops. So we're now allowing you to ship loot with confidence, not just after you've built a game and have a captive audience, but just upon the inception of your idea for a game, or maybe you're halfway through building it. There's no time too early to start using this tool. So the way this works is that creators take care of loot generation, and ChainSafe takes care of the packaging and the logistics. So game devs, artists, and anyone else within your game generation community can be in charge of actually creating the loot. This adds a community aspect really early on in the game development process. You can work with designers in your network. You can create these assets yourself. You can even work with members of your captive audience. You could run competitions. This is something that we've actually done. You can run competitions for people to create NFTs, and the best ones will end up in your loot boxes. So at an early stage, you're bringing people into the development process. You're incentivizing them to have ownership in the community and the game that you're trying to build. So then at this point, once you have the loot that you want for your first drop, you go to the Loot Box Factory, which is an on-chain factory that we provide through our SDK. You can access it today. And anyone can access this either directly through our open source code or through the dashboard. And then once you've minted your loot boxes, you can customize the amount of loot, you can customize the rarity of loot, and then you can customize also who that loot is being sent to. Once you've done all that, it's time for the boxes to be put in the warehouse where they can be accessed by your community. So before I get into the distribution, which I think is the most interesting part of all this, it's important to say that we've partnered with Chainlink and their verifiable randomness function to create more trust in this process. A lot of the way that loot boxes work today is opaque at best. There's not a lot of transparency in terms of what loot you're actually going to get and what percentage chance that you have of getting the loot that you want. So through this VRF function, we can actually guarantee players and community members that if the game dev says that there's a 10% chance that you're going to get a legendary item, they can actually go into that open source software and verify that there will be a 10% chance of getting that item. So that's just another way to help build trust within your community. But yeah, what I really want to talk about is the methods of distribution that now become available with this technology. So you can actually airdrop these loot boxes to either people who exist within your community, or you can target adjacent audiences that you think might be interested in your game. So for example, I could look for games of a similar genre, I could airdrop to their users, or I could look for folks who are playing games on the same blockchain network that I'm building on, I could airdrop to their users. And if you want to go a more Web 2 approach, you can actually send a claim link via any social media. So I think that's really the most powerful. Like, you Web 3 folks like airdrops, but most people are more into the social aspect. So yeah, the social media link is really cool. It allows us to distribute these in new ways. And because the asset is provably yours, it really makes it a meaningful activity to do before the game is even launched. So this is just an example of a UI that we can build. When people claim the box, it makes it more exciting, it makes it look better. This could be inserted into a game, but more importantly, it could also just be a simple landing page that you build pre-game to drum up some hype and give people like a fun interactive experience when they're interacting with these boxes. So through these mechanisms, we hope to empower indie developers in a lot of different ways. We can showcase their creativity in new ways. It allows them to monetize their work directly. It allows them to access a broader audience. It allows them to take a fair share of the profits, and hopefully it levels the playing field a little bit. And this is also a way that we can help to build thriving communities. User generation, increased collaboration, deeper engagement and investment, helping to build up a dedicated fan base, and cross-promotion across games. So this is a really cool one that I've been talking a lot about with my team. Say you are working with a friend of yours, they're building another game, maybe it's in the same genre. You could collaborate on a loot drop, and you could have NFTs, assets, what have you, from both games and drop them to both of your audiences. Now those audiences have a stake in both of your ecosystems, and it really helps to cross-pollinate and give a sense of ownership between those games. You could do even more than two. Yeah, and these are just the possibilities that we've come up with so far. The product's been out for a few weeks. There's already been a lot of demand for it, and we're really excited to see what our partners do with this new tool. So yeah, in conclusion, I hope that what you take away from this talk is that we need to make blockchain invisible in order to see adoption and in order to fully realize the benefits of this technology. And if we do that, we can build fun games and tight communities, and we can enhance value for devs, studios, and players. Thank you. Yeah, if you scan this link, it leads to our builder program and our marketplace waitlist, as well as our website and a bunch of other stuff you might be interested in. We have time for questions.
Yes, make Web3 invisible, and yes, the majority of the players are coming from Web 2, but the players who are coming from Web 3, they're super savvy, and they wanna, I hope only for good, use their knowledge. How are they addressed? Even to the level of, can they buy it on the web? Can they buy the NFT on the web and then insert it back into the game?
That's a great question, and yeah, absolutely they can. So this pitch was really tailored for more of a Web 2 audience, but we believe, like I said, we started building infrastructure. So all of this is available through our APIs. If you have the knowledge, you can go right past our dashboard and you can dig into the code that's all open source. And so, yeah, I think that a lot of people will want to do that, and that, honestly, that's what excites me. Like, you could go all the way to the dark forest level of having a game that's completely on chain. We would love for people to dig into our stuff and find novel use cases. And yeah, a lot of what we do is also custom work for clients that are pretty familiar with Web3, but they're looking for deeper smart contract proficiency. Maybe it's a novel use case that's not addressed by what we offer out of the box. But yeah, I think absolutely we still want to support that audience. And I think that some of the coolest features that we might come up with in the future will be in collaboration with those sorts of people. Anyone else? All right, thank you.